Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Buddy Carter, member of the House Budget and Commerce Committees. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats to you and your colleagues for passing the bill. What can you tell us about the Democrat pushback?
Well, this is to be expected. Look, this is fear-mongering among the Democrats. I was chair of the Health Subcommittee of Energy and Commerce that crafted the majority of the savings to Medicaid. What we did was we made the Medicaid program, which is a safety net program for the most vulnerable in our society, we made it better. We made it to where it will be able to sustain, where it will be stabilized, and we saved it. We made it better for those who truly deserve it. And how did we do that? We cut out waste, fraud, and abuse. We made sure that illegals are not going to be on Medicaid. We made sure that ineligibles are not going to be on Medicaid. And we made sure that able-bodied adults who are on Medicaid are either going to have to volunteer 20 hours a week or work 20 hours a week. That's not too much to ask.
Yeah. Well, let me get your take on the implementation of the big, beautiful bill, Congressman. Where do you see the big impact? You know, you've got money in there for the border, money for defense, of course, the extension of the tax cuts. Tell us how you see this playing out next year.
Well, all of those things are important, obviously, to secure the border, obviously, to make sure we have energy dominance. But the most important thing is that Americans would have seen the highest tax increase that they had ever seen had we not passed this. In my home state of Georgia, 88% of Georgians would have seen a tax increase of $1,500, which equates to about 7 weeks worth of groceries. We can ill afford that in our economy. Yet our senior senator, John Ossoff, he voted against it. He evidently wants to see an increase in taxes for Georgians.
Mm-hmm. Let me switch gears, ask you about former President Joe Biden's doctor. Kevin O'Connor pled the fifth yesterday on critical questions, Congressman, from the Oversight Committee over the alleged cover-up of Biden's mental and health decline. Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett claimed that she had zero concerns about the former president. Watch this. I got to get your reaction.
It's kind of astounding to hear someone say, if you invoke the Fifth Amendment, that is only because you are guilty. We have a constitutional right that anyone who may be under fire can invoke. I think that he did what any good lawyer would advise him to do. I didn't see Joe Biden every single day, but I did have an opportunity to interact with the president. I never had a concern. He may get fumbled up by words, but that's not anything new, and it's not anything that came with age. We know that this is someone that was born with a stutter that ultimately had to get over it.
Congressman, your thoughts?
I think it's naive of her to think that we would believe that. It is becoming more and more obvious that there was a cover-up at the White House of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. And Americans deserve to know what was going on there. They deserve transparency. We need to make sure that this never happens again. We can't have the most important elected position in the world to be handled by someone and to be occupied by someone whose cognitive decline obviously is at a point where they can't function. And that's the way this was. So I hope the Oversight Committee, and I'm confident the Oversight Committee, will continue to look into this.
Yeah, I mean, we've covered this extensively over the years and obviously pointed out what we saw, as did many of our guests, including yourself, over the years. And you have to wonder who, in fact, was making the decisions to shape policy the way that they were. So if Joe Biden wasn't making the decisions to have a wide open border, if Joe Biden wasn't making the decisions to spend $7 trillion sending inflation to 40-year highs, if Joe Biden wasn't making the decision to put, boys and girls sports, who was? And, all of these issues impacted American citizens. So do you have a thought in terms of who you would like to see testify to get a better understanding of who was shaping policy for those 4 years?
Well, I think those closest around him at the White House would be the ones that we need to be talking to. And Dr. O'Connor, he can invoke the Fifth Amendment, but I think that he has a responsibility to the American citizens to let them know exactly what he saw. And I hope he'll change his mind on this, because this is very important. We can't let this happen. And certainly, again, those who are closest to him at the White House, they need to be speaking up. This is our country. If it was a Republican president, I would say the same thing about those in the office at that time.
Meanwhile, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, demanding a comprehensive overhaul of the state's flood warning systems. At least 120 people have died in this terrible flash flooding. More than 170 people are still missing, Congressman. Your granddaughters were rescued from Camp Mystic, where that deadly flooding took place. Thank God. We pray for all of the families. Tell us more. What do you know?
Well, my twin granddaughters were there. They'll be 12 years old in 2 weeks, and yes, they were rescued. They were there with 4 of their cousins on the other side of the family, and unfortunately, one of their cousins perished. Janie Hunt, a 9-year-old, most vivacious. It's just horrible, just awful tragedy, and I will tell you, we're so thankful to the first responders, particularly Scott Rossman, who rescued my 2 granddaughters. I mean. It's just a tragedy. I still can't believe this has happened.
Of course. Well, we pray for your granddaughters and, of course, for that precious 9-year-old and all of those who lost their lives in this terrible tragedy. Congressman, thank you very much for being here this morning. We'll see you soon.
Thank
Buddy
you.
Carter. And you can join Fox's support of the recovery efforts by going to go.fox/Texas Flood Relief. Your donations will support the community, of course.